Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to a special Media Matters for Anfield Index. It's Monday, but it feels like the best day ever, isn't it? Because unless you were living under a rock, Liverpool made it 20 yesterday. Absolute scenes before, during, and after the game, and it still feels so special, doesn't it, ladies and gents? As ever, we're joined by the renowned and the respected David Lynch. And David, from almost like a joint question, as a Liverpool fan, but as a journalist as well, everything was just about yesterday and even now. It was just special, wasn't it?
Yeah, just genuinely perfect, really. I mean, I think we've spoken about this before, but really the idea that kind of this is the day you've been thinking about for 30 odd years, really, and kind of imagining how it would be. And I think back to the one 5 years ago when Liverpool win the title, and it just isn't anything like this. And again, like I say, not what you dreamed of, because what you dream of when you think of it is a comfortable win at home. You hammer a side, show how good you are. The four sides of the ground absolutely bouncing, the sun shining down on Anfield, everybody in the shorts and t-shirts and enjoying that. And then immediately after, or in the build-up and then after as well, is kind of seeing everybody that you've shared this journey with down the years. And 5 years ago it just completely lacked that and took so much out of it, really. And I think we can kind of admit that a little bit now, because yesterday was like I said, it was like the fulfillment of a dream, really. And it was genuine. I think it was, and I've seen a few people say this, it was kind of better than you'd imagined, which when does that ever happen, really, in your life? And it was absolutely perfect from start to finish, really. And what a day. And I think a lot of people will say it'd be up there in the kind of top 5 days in their lives, really.
Yeah, it probably tops everything for me, when just we didn't have any frame of reference yesterday for what it was going to be, what was going to occur. But just for those who don't get like the absolute pleasure of going to Anfield on a regular basis, I mean, we're both there hours before. And I remember as I'm walking across Stanley Park thinking, how will it be? And this was 4 hours before kickoff. Everywhere was bouncing, though, wasn't it? Literally everywhere, 4 hours before kickoff and more, was just noise and people excited, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, I got the train in. I usually drive to the ground, obviously, to work, but I knew I wanted to kind of go for a beer after if they did win it. And so I got the train in, and even coming into town, I just couldn't believe how busy it was. I know it was a Sunday afternoon, and generally we'll be busy around town, but not like that. And it was a kind of sea of red. And then you get up to the ground as well, and similar people just wanted to get there early and soak it all up. And it does. I going to keep going on about the weather a little bit, but I genuinely think it kind of made the day, because it allowed everyone to congregate outside. It looked great. Everyone's in a better mood, and the place just even looks better when it's like that. So that really helped. And then, it's just walking up to Anfield. You just saw everywhere packed out, every pub, people standing outside the pubs, people on any bit of communal area, soaking up the kind of pre-match music they do outside Anfield as well. It was just absolutely perfect, really. And you knew it was going to be special then when you got in the ground, and it lived up to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything about it. And even before they get in the ground, let's just play you, ladies and gents, just a clip of the bus arriving, which for anyone that is part of this or was part of this is going to live long in the memory. I mean, just the absolute scenes that I've got pyro poisoning, which might actually be the best type of poisoning you can possibly get. But just for those that weren't there, the noise, the smoke, but just the atmosphere, it was incredible, David, wasn't it? Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, because that video is filmed kind of in portrait, you can't really kind of see the depth of the fans as well, and how far down and how wide that kind of goes. And they were all up in the stand, like up at the top bit where I was stood to watch it there on that ledge. And that bit was packed out, then all the way down kind of that that street that's there as well. It was just absolutely rammed, and again, all the way down the street where the coach comes down as well. And thankfully, everybody kind of kept off the road, so they were able to bring the coach down there as well. And that was just brilliant as well. Is kind of everyone buying into that, because they wanted that. Everyone wanted to make the coach greeting special and stuff. And then the colour and the noise, it was just kind of breathtaking, really. And you're used to these kind of things as a kind of, seen some of these greetings before as kind of to get the players going for a big Champions League game. But this was kind of different. It wasn't that. It was celebratory. It was everyone recognising and believing that what was going to happen that day, which was that Liverpool were going to win the league. And so it was kind of a different, even less of a kind of a determined mood and more of a happy one and celebratory, as I say. So, it was incredible, and it looked incredible, and you could barely see anything with the smoke bombs and the pyro, and it was being set off from on top of the containers and on top of the scaffolding. I saw people on top of roofs and everything, trying to get a spot to see it. So it was just, absolutely magic. And I think Arne Slot said after the game, didn't he? When we saw all that, there's absolutely no way we were going to lose this match. So, it clearly had the intended effect on the players as well. And again, just one of those moments that makes you think that Liverpool fans are pretty special, really.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing ever to know the coach is about 10 feet in front of you and not actually be able to see it properly, but just hear the noise and it driving by. It was just absolutely surreal. And I mean, we'll talk about the game as well, but actually just inside, as you said, the sea of red, the passion. I know Virgil made the call, but it was the right one. There was just something different about it yesterday, wasn't there? Seeing that red everywhere.
Yeah, it looked incredible, really. I mean, what a shout from him. I wonder if kind of his thinking around that has been influenced by the way that it looked at the Carabao Cup final. And again, I'm going to talk about the weather and the importance of that, because not many people have red coats, do they? So it can have an effect on why that end looked like that. And Newcastle gave out scarves, so that helps make it black and white for them. But I wonder if that was partly on his mind. But the brilliant thing is that he said about it, he spoke about it, and it didn't just stay in its little corner on the internet where his program notes go or whatever. It just, it really did catch on, and everybody seemed to buy into it. It really, and it looked, and it wasn't just the cop, by the way, it was that all the way around the stadium was just a sea of red, and it really did look magnificent. And then when you throw in the smoke bombs, the songs, the general joy around the place, it just made for a really special atmosphere. So what a shout from the captain. And those pictures, we look at those down the years now, they are going to look so special, aren't they, and have great memories. And Virgil van Dijk's played a really big role in that, but also the fans for kind of heeding his call as well.
Yeah, it got it absolutely spot on. And even just, I mean, after the game, for those that have probably seen the photos, the pictures, just the noise and just the atmosphere from the songs, as you said, we'll just play a small bit of this, how special it was. It doesn't get mentioned too often, but George Sefton's got to take major credit for yesterday, hasn't he? Because as soon as that final whistle went, you can tell he's planned it, but meticulously, like Dua Lipa, One Kiss, Freed from Desire, and everything was just timed to perfection. And then even the stadium took over with renditions for each individual player. Like the song list for yesterday was perfect from everyone.
Yeah, absolutely nailed it, as you say. I mean, to go into Dua Lipa straight after it was it's a bold choice, because you'd almost think, oh, maybe we should just go straight into You'll Never Walk Alone or whatever. But it was absolutely right to kind of capture the party mood, and obviously that's become a bit of an anthem for Liverpool fans in recent years, hasn't it? That was absolutely nailed it with that, and every song that was played after that just absolutely went off and really got the place bouncing. You could see kind of looking around the stands, it was never still. It was people were dancing and really you could see it genuinely bouncing. So absolutely magic. And then of course, like letting the fans have their sing song as well. And as you say, every player who's got a song getting theirs. You felt a little bit sorry for the ones who don't, but it just the songbook for the day was absolutely perfect. Really, another element of it that just went so swimmingly. And like I say again, you couldn't imagine it would be as perfect as it was, but it really was.
Yeah, and even I didn't think we'd get this, but Arne Slot gave us a song, didn't he? Reciprocated it to Jurgen Klopp as well. I mean, he isn't normally a big character. He's a different manager to Jurgen, not the same character, but it just felt almost like, I don't know, he grew yesterday on the pitch singing the song, the way he reacted. Like there was more of a connection, I think people felt with Arne Slot, didn't they, yesterday?
Yeah, and I think he's been doing this since day one, really. He's kind of holding a little bit back. He's kind of wanted to make sure that he earned the respect of the fans and that he builds that relationship through winning and doing his aspects. And I think he feels like if he'd showed too much character before a win like this, that he kind of, maybe people would accuse him of trying to be Jurgen or whatever. And, he's got to be his own man and he's got to, he wanted to kind of slowly get there. He's never going to be a Jurgen Klopp type. So, it kind of took me by surprise, actually, when he did the singing yesterday, because it's not anything we've kind of seen from him, like opening up in that way since he's been here. He's been so kind of cool, calm, and collected, hasn't he? But he let his guard down a little bit in doing that, and then doing the fist pumps as well. Fantastic, it just shows that kind of the link between the two managers from one to the other as well, and the great respect they have for each other. Just absolutely fantastic, and the way it closes that loop of going from. You've seen the clips of kind of Jurgen singing it and into Arne Slot. Incredibly, by the way, they both sing it in exactly the same key, which, I mentioned in a tweet today, just shows you how good Liverpool's recruitment is. That's how you do a smooth transition from one manager to the next. Unbelievable. But yeah, we saw a little bit more of Arne Slot yesterday, and I think we will see more of him now that he feels that he's earned the right to do that, to be himself, to open up a little bit more, to have a bit more of a relationship with the fans, because he's a Liverpool legend now, isn't he? Surely, I mean, he's won a league title, only a few Liverpool managers who've managed to do that. So I think we will see a little bit more of him, and it was great to see him open up in that way as well. He was a big part of it being such a huge celebration as well.
Yeah, really special. And there's some great things coming through in the chat, and we'll get to that shortly, around people flying in from America, Singapore, waiting for the parade. I mean, I was coming out of Anfield yesterday, and because you've no frame as reference, there was literally local families or families from around Liverpool bringing deck chairs, 24 crates, everything, getting set up for the night. And we all saw the scenes. I mean, this party went on incredibly through the night, but it's going to go on forever, isn't it? Or a good period in this area.
Yeah, I think throughout the summer, at least, there's going to be there's a few more games to go in the Premier League, which feels absolutely mental. By the way, that it's not just like, it feels like yesterday should have been the end of it. There's more games to come, so you're going to get the celebration for each of those that's on, and the two Anfield fixtures definitely. Particularly as one of those is Arsenal, which is fabulous, by the way. So yeah, and last night was just, I couldn't believe it. I got out of Anfield at about 8:30, I think. And I kind of thought everyone would have dispersed to the pubs and then be coming out onto not empty streets, obviously still always people hanging around, but I didn't think I'd be seeing what I was seeing, which was just pyro going off, people on the roof of the park, it was absolutely nuts. And then I'm like trying to find my mates in the pub, seeing where they were, and they couldn't get into. They were drinking on the street, but just down the road at the 12th Man I used to go with them before I was a reporter. But all the way down the street, just noise and packed out with people and an incredible atmosphere. It was unreal, and it was still going on when I left later on. And I think there's going to be, as I say, one summer long party really. And I think the next couple that are going to be, I think the next couple of games are going to be huge. But also I think that final game against Crystal Palace, I think there's going to be a big do after that one, and then obviously the following day will be the parade as well, so that's going to be massive. So an awful lot to look forward to. And I said this yesterday, but Liverpool fans should soak up and get involved in every single minute of this that they can, because at the end of the day, they missed out on all this last time, and they've missed out on all this now for 35 years. So, squeeze every last bit of joy out of it, make the most of it, because even if they win it again next year, it's not going to be like this. So, this is the big one, isn't it? And just take in every moment, and if you can get involved in any way, and you can, do whatever you can to do that, because it should be celebrated and enjoyed with the people who make it special.
Yeah, it was a day for us, for fans and just people yesterday. It was absolutely brilliant. And I suppose we best actually talk about the game itself. I mean, there was almost I don't know if it was a concern, but when Spurs went 1-0 up, are we going to limp to this? How are we going to go? But we were brilliant yesterday overall, weren't we?
Yeah, it's absolutely classic though, isn't it, to concede the first goal? Like, that is Liverpool in a nutshell. I wish I put a bet on it. There's no way that we're just going to sail through there yesterday without any little element of jeopardy being thrown in. So that was just brilliant that they did that, just to make you think for a second, wow, the balloon might be popped here. This, it might not go to plan. Because I remember, by the way, when I get to the match, and anyone I saw in the build-up to the game, I'm like, no one's really countenance that Liverpool could lose this game. And I didn't think they would by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't think Tottenham were capable of getting a result. But things happen in football. It is possible that they might not win. It was there as an outcome that was possible, even though it was a small possibility. And so, no one really thought about it up until I think the point that Solanke heads that goal in, and then it's kind of, hang on a minute. But thankfully, no one on the pitch, and I don't think anyone in the stands panicked. I think everyone knew there was plenty of time to sort it out. The atmosphere was still right up there, and also thankfully they scored within 4 minutes to kind of get it level. So that was that made things a lot easier. But maybe actually even made it a little bit better that Tottenham get the goal, because I think it's kind of just that little reminder, even if it was just for 4 minutes, that there is an element of jeopardy here, and it makes when you win even better to be reminded of that, and also to be reminded of how good the teams are in the Premier League. They can score against you. It is hard to win this league. So even that was probably, I guess, a nice aspect of it. But of course, they roared back to be 3-1 up at half time, and at that point you knew the game and the title was sealed. So even that aspect of it, I guess, couldn't have gone better. And for all the talk that this is a team that's limping over the line as well, quite funny that they've absolutely smashed Spurs to bits there to clinch it. So really, really good performance.
Yeah, I mean, literally smashed them to bits. 5-1. It could have been 7 or 8. There were times we were almost trying to walk the ball in or give people goals, or just strange decision-making at times as well. But the great thing about yesterday was, you said we came roaring back. All the goals were brilliant in different ways. Did you have a favourite or a pick from that catalogue yesterday?
It's quite tough, really. They're all really good goals, aren't they? Really well worked. And I think McAllister's I really liked, because it's the 2-1 goal, and I actually didn't think he was going to smash it in on his left foot from there. I just thought, it's a surprise when it hits the back of the net. It's a really, truly brilliant goal. And of course, once you go from 1-0 to 2-1 in such a short space of time, the atmosphere was just built incredibly, and that was possibly the biggest let off of the lot, really. So that was massive. But I don't want to do down any of the goals, because they were all, the Diaz one is brilliantly worked. Gakpo does so well to get that one out of his feet and pop it in the corner. Salah is extremely satisfying, the way he just cuts in and hammers that bottom corner, and then the way he celebrates that goal as well. So just loads to like about all of them. But I thought the McAllister let-off was possibly the most special of them all. Yeah,
and I mean, speaking of most special of them all, that Alexis McAllister has been sensational for us this season. He's our best midfield player. He's clearly going to be in the team of the year. But even with all that said, I just felt like yesterday he was almost at another level at times to everyone on the field. He was just doing everything in terms of winning the ball back, creating stuff. He was just another level yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is another level, isn't he? He's absolutely, he's almost kind of I almost want to say he's kind of underrated. I don't know. I feel like there's a discussion around him on social media, or kind of some Liverpool fans don't appreciate how good he is. But a big game like that comes around. I don't want to do him down by saying, oh, he turned up in that big game. He always does that, because he's just brilliant, full stop, really. It isn't just in big games. He's just a phenomenal footballer, and he's Liverpool's best midfielder. He's kind of the beating heart of this team, really, in the middle of it, because he's so good at everything. I mean, the way he puts that goal away on his left foot just shows you, the quality he's got. I think he takes a few shots yesterday, creates chances. I think he wins the most duels, wins the most tackles. Yeah. He's a complete midfielder, isn't he, really? The only thing you would say about him that he maybe lacks is obviously a bit of pace and physicality, but he makes up for that because he's a genius. He's got, that first yard is in his head. He makes up for his lack of strength and size with his ferocity and getting stuck in. He's just absolutely world class, I think. And yeah, like I said, I almost think he's a little bit underrated, to be honest. And I thought that performance yesterday, he was dominant, wasn't he? He was man of the match, I would say. So a brilliant performance, and he capped off. And it was great he got that goal, because I think Van Dijk and Salah rightly get the plaudits and have been kind of seen as the icons of the season, but perhaps potentially because of their contract situations as well. But McAllister, I put him right up there in terms of the level of importance, and particularly because he's right in the middle of this team, and he's the one who makes it all work. So what a footballer, and Liverpool so lucky to have him, and so glad to have him. And they got him for 35 million, by the way. What a joke that is.
Is it almost, if people can't equate it now, when you look at the team and you look at the spine, you always think we've got a chance as long as it's our favourites. Alisson's in nets, Van Dijk's at centre-back, Salah's in the attacking line. You're almost now bringing, as long as McAllister's there, you'd be terrified if he wasn't on the pitch for a big game, wouldn't you?
Exactly. That's it. I mean, the strength of that spine, I mean, just reeling off the names, and this isn't just reeling off the names of famous players. It's reeling off the names of players who are unbelievably consistent in terms of the world-class level of performance they give. And I think McAllister is part of that group. He's also part of that group in terms of being a leader as well, and showing what he's all about. So, he is a leader in that team, and he's well-liked in the dressing room. And really respected in terms of his level of importance. If people on the outside don't see it, people at Liverpool know just how good he is. So he is, without doubt, part of that group, and a really crucial cog in this Liverpool machine.
Yeah. And speaking of part of that group, Mo Salah yesterday, you knew he was going to get on the score sheet. You just knew it was going to happen. Everyone fancied it. And the way he just, as you said, cuts in, they know what's going to happen, Spurs, but more inevitable than Thanos, isn't it? As he just buries that shot in the bottom corner. We all knew it was coming.
Yeah. I wanted him to get a goal as well. I think, to kind of cap this big moment in this season, that his ridiculous season that he's had with a goal, he really deserved it. He's been on a little bit of a mini drought, hasn't he, in terms of open play goals as well. Yeah. So nice to see that come to an end. And he's just phenomenal. I mean, the way, the way he cuts inside yesterday, as you say, it's kind of, it's coming, but there's not a lot you can do about it. But the power with which he arrows that into the bottom corner, no keeper's saving that. So, and for him to get his big moment in front of the Kop end, absolutely magic. Love the way he celebrated it as well. Couldn't believe he didn't take his shirt off. I bet a few had Salah to get booked as a bet, and would have thought when the ball hit the back of the net that they were quids in. I honestly cannot believe he didn't take his shirt off, but obviously he had something slightly different planned, and he wanted to get that selfie with the crowd, and what a picture that is. Absolutely iconic, and just another brilliant moment in a day that was packed with them.
Yeah, just brilliant. And I was going to ask you, because you may know this, and a few have been asking us, and I generally don't know the answer. A lot of the younger, I say, ball boys, helpers were there, and you saw at full time the adults were, the squad were bouncing with them. Is that the youth team people were asking, that people, they're sort of bringing them into that as well? Because they were obviously, you can see some of them in the photo as well, but were they part of it?
Yeah, so they always use, it is usually always academy lads who will be the ball boys at the matches. So I'd expect that those kids they're obviously really young, so we don't know names or anything like that about them, or kind of they're on the lower ages in terms of that. But yeah, another kind of magic moment, really. Those kids looked like they were absolutely loving it. The players were grabbing them, and yeah, fantastic, really, that they got that moment as well. And just shows you kind of, again, the togetherness of the club, and it just kind of fed into that kind of narrative, didn't it? And yeah, absolutely magic, really. And I think the ball boys were absolutely loving it, weren't they?
Yeah, they had a great what a time to be a teenager and in that squad. And we're talking about players, we're talking about the front line a little bit. 3 of the scorers, Salah, Diaz, Gakpo. Has that almost yesterday punctuated that for the season, those 3 have been the best 3 forwards at any one time in any position on the pitch?
Yeah, I think it's telling that he's kind of in this part of the season now. He's kind of turned back to that and realised that's his most reliable front 3, even though it's got imperfections. We don't think Diaz is perfect through the middle, do we? There's the issue with that. And so the balance isn't exactly perfect in terms of exactly where you want it to be. But it's the best Liverpool have got at the moment. And I'm not doing Diaz down there, by the way. His intelligence, his work rate. He's been part of some sensational performances in that centre forward role. And again, he was yesterday. He was so important. But yeah, it has been consistently, hasn't it, through the season? I think it emerged kind of November, December time as being the best, really, once Gakpo really hit some form and he forced his way into the team. And then you realised centre forward Nunes, Jota's not been their season, so you needed an alternative option, and the ideal was to kind of move Diaz into there, and it really worked. And again, what a great example, actually, of kind of Arne Slot thinking on the fly. We haven't seen Diaz in that central role. I mean, the season prior, we hadn't seen Gakpo on that left wing very often either. Right. So, these are tweaks that kind of, they seem obvious because they've worked so well this season. And yet, these things weren't happening last season. Same with Gravenberch in his position. So, credit to the manager and credit to those players. But as you say, that really has been the front 3 for this season. And when you think back to this season, that'll be the front 3 that you remember, really. And they've done a fantastic job, as they did yesterday, but throughout the season. And they fully deserve that moment to get their goals and to get the win that got them over the line.
Yeah, they were all brilliant yesterday. Even that one, though, where Gakpo does the overhead kick that just goes wide. That was like he's back, because he's been struggling a bit from injury, but he was back with that moment yesterday. And as always, the moments about yesterday, people, and celebrating everything, but no one's going to let me get away without asking David about transfers, contracts, and the things going on there. So it's right to ask, even as we step, and we've got to put that photo on the screen because number 20 is up on the Champions Wall at Anfield. This one is a hell of a photo from yesterday, David, that I know you'll have clocked it, that with viewers where I'm seeing, you could see like John W. Henry had Trent Alexander-Arnold chatting to him for a good few minutes. It's the ultimate boss speaking to, the youth star who there's big question marks around his contract and Real Madrid. Cody Gakpo mentioned in the interview about hopefully he stays, and people clock that at the same time as well. Is this just forlorn hope, or is there anything you think still, or just should we not get excited at all? And people even mention it, I should say as well, Trent's posted there at 11:30 today about Hearts and this city and this club, so people jump on that. Any hope or forlorn?
No, to be fair, I think as long as he hasn't signed his deal with Real Madrid, which he hasn't yet, there's always hope. You can't say it's done until it's done. What I would say is that at this point, it would be a bit of a U-turn. The expectation at Liverpool is that he will go and he will join Real Madrid, and that's the expectation definitely on the Real Madrid side. So everybody's kind of in that position. But until he signs it, there's every chance he changes his mind. That absolutely could happen. So, that possibility is still on the table. So we'll kind of see whether that maybe he's been persuaded by the scenes he saw yesterday, but I'm not sure that's going to be the case, to be honest. Maybe John Henry's threatened him. I don't know, but I honestly doubt it, to be honest. I just think, I don't doubt his love of Liverpool or whatever. Why wouldn't he enjoy this moment? It's still his club that he supports. But I just think that the kind of the pull of Real Madrid and the idea of just trying something a little bit different is maybe what's in his mind. It's not because he wants to get out of Liverpool. He's just got an opportunity to try something completely new and maybe wants to go and try it. But as I say, until he puts pen to paper on that contract, it's still there as a maybe. But I would still suggest that he's going to go to Real Madrid, unfortunately. But also, let's just say that a great way to sign off in terms of being a big part of another title win. You know, he's been part of a Liverpool side that has firmly re-established this club back on its perch. So I know there are people who prefer to focus on the negative elements, which is, you know, Liverpool not getting a fee, or how could you leave at all? You know, I wouldn't do it personally or whatever. But I think, you know, for me, I prefer to focus on the positives, and there are quite a lot of them. So, like I said, we'll see. Maybe he will change his mind. Maybe he had a big night out last night and he's feeling like he wants to stay. But yeah, I still feel like he's going to go to Real Madrid, to be honest.
Yeah, hopefully it was a big night out for all of them, where John W. Henry stuck a piece of paper under his neck. He signed it without thinking, and we'll get a load of announcements. But it's hard to see it at this stage. And I mean, speaking of other players, I mean, Darwin Núñez is a character anyway, isn't he? If everyone could see the photo there. But this was one I wanted to ask you about. A lot of people were talking about this sort of in the stadium. When you look down at the bench yesterday, and they talk about emptying the bench in football, let me just put these names to you. Jarell Quansah, Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, Queven Kelleher, and Federico Chiesa. How many would you say you're confident, but probably Curtis Jones, I would say, for me, I'm the only one I'm sticking my neck on, that you would say will be at Anfield next season?
Yeah, it's few question marks there. I mean, what I would say is that I do think a big aspect of this is that, yes, there's question marks over quite a few of those players. Absolutely, would acknowledge that, except for Jones. You couldn't really confidently say that they'll all be there next season. But what I would say is that the idea that they'll all go as well is kind of a bit of a fantasy. You know, Liverpool it'll be on a kind of case-by-case basis, but it will also be on a basis of, we can't afford to have too much turnover this summer. They won't want to be selling 8 or 9 because they'll have to replace them. So, you know, I think if you're in a situation where if big money comes in for Gomez at the start of the window, then Jarell Quansah's future and question marks over that have come to an end. You keep him for at least another season. Yeah. Similarly with Harvey Elliott, you know, if you change, you know, if you make other changes in midfield, if Endo were to go, for example, again, you don't want Elliott to go as well, because you're starting to have to get 2 midfielders in or whatever. So Núñez, Jota, Diaz, all those forwards who are in question marks. So it's I think there are question marks over an awful lot of them. But it's going to be the case that I think only a limited number will leave in the end, because, as I say, Liverpool, that's going to give Liverpool 3 or 4 signings they have to make on top of the left back and the centre forward that they already want. And I don't think they'll want to turn it into 7 or 8 signings, but maybe kind of, if they can keep it to 5-ish, I think that would be more comfortable for them. So it's an interesting summer coming up, isn't it, on that basis, really? And it's going to be interesting to see who the money comes in, and whether it's big enough, and whether it's early enough, and who it comes in for first, and whether that influences decision making. So, yeah, really, really interesting one coming up.
Yeah, and people are hammering me quite rightly for not mentioning even Tsimikas or Endo, who there's also question marks, who completed the bench yesterday. There are a lot of question marks there. And I suppose in terms of the opposite way, question marks. I mean, Bournemouth are almost becoming our new Southampton, if we believe all the rumours. And Dean Huijsen, and I know you'll have seen this, you commented on it as well. Dependent on who you want to believe, Chelsea are the favourites because of the connection with the advisor and his links to Chelsea. If you believe other reports, Liverpool the favourites because of the father, the project, you know, where Dean sees himself in the future as well. Is it just as simple as saying Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea are really there in the race for Dean Huijsen, and a decision's got to be made?
Yeah, literally that. Exactly that. I think I would disregard any talk of front runners at the moment. You know, my understanding is that it's just ongoing. You know, all these clubs are kind of pitching to the player, and Bournemouth are kind of allowing that, knowing that he's got a clause and that they want an early resolution to this as well, so that they can reinvest the money. They know he's going to go. It's just a question of where to. So Every club is making their pitch, having a look at what the kind of contract will look like, pitching where he will fit into their squad, etc., and how they plan to use him. But there's a few clubs in the mix, and we will see how that kind of plays out, really. Liverpool are there. They're one of the clubs involved, and I think they would have a very, very strong pitch to make to him, not least because look at that yesterday. Why wouldn't you want to be part of that? So Liverpool will be there, but we don't know where that's going to go yet, and we don't know where that's up to. So, let's see, really. He's an exciting talent, but it's an open race at the moment as far as we're aware.
It does seem an open race, and I don't know about this one, because one that everyone seems to be, say, from Bournemouth again, is almost a closed race, and he's pretty much just when he's joining us. Milos Kerkez, you've seen everyone quoting this around. He's certain, it seems like, is the only real name. I know you're not fully convinced with this, are you? That there's no absolute certainty, and people have equated it to Alexis McAllister, like the smoke without fire situation. But does it feel that way?
He's definitely a player that Liverpool like, but I just think he's been linked for that such a long period of time now that people think he's 100% coming, and I don't think we're quite in that situation yet. Again, there are other left backs that Liverpool like who they might go in for. There's also competition for Kerkez that might interest him as well. So, again, we'll see how that goes. And I know people kind of want as much certainty as possible, but we can't forget we're still only in April. We're not at the end of the season yet. No one's able to make kind of fully firm moves yet. So, you've got to remember it's really early days. So, but I'd say, Kirk is definitely someone who's liked. But like I say, I think people have gone too far in thinking he's 100% going to be Liverpool's left back signing. I'm not quite convinced of that just yet. It may well be him. And as I say, they do like him. He's definitely on the short list. So, I'm not trying to say he's not going to sign. But there are others they like as well. And I mean, that is one of them, by the way, Ryan Aït-Nouri. So just kind of keep an eye on that, really. It's, it's not nailed on by any means, I'd say.
Yeah, keep forgetting it is April. There's still a fair bit of the season to go. It does seem strange saying that. And I mean, we're talking about Huijsen there and possible incomings. This is one we'd love some positive news on. It does seem almost awfully quiet. There's no real positive noises coming around the Ibou Konate situation. Just hoping the photo there on the screen of him sat in the main stand after the game, just absorbing it in, that if there is any emotional element, this is playing into it. But for you, because I said it on a few pods now, it's not a good summer if Huijsen comes in and Konate goes out. That's a weaker central defence. Getting Ibou renewed is a priority, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it. I don't think you can be signing Dean Huijsen as a replacement for Ibou Konate. He's not at that level yet. Absolutely not. He's a real big talent, but he's he's just turned 20 and he doesn't win aerial duels at the same rate. And Konate is actually one of the best centre halves in the world. So you can't. That would be a major downgrade, and that's not what I think. It's part of it in terms of Liverpool's need for a centre half, in terms of it's part of their thinking and wanting to future-proof that area. But it's not that he would be a direct replacement. Absolutely not. They are committed to trying to get this contract extended, and they know how important Konate is, and I hope they can, because I think he's absolutely massive for them. I mean, he's had a good season, hasn't he, in terms of getting over his injuries, and he's been just fantastic in terms of his level of performance. But obviously, he's now down to his final year. There's interest in him from PSG, which is no doubt playing a part in this. So we'll have to see. But I don't think it can be a case of Konate out and Huijsen in and thinking that the level of performance will be maintained. Again, it's another element of kind of going into this summer where it's like, God, there's another player they might have to need to replace there. And it's, again, they're going to try and limit turnover as much as they can. But it's how much are you able to do that? And who does go and who doesn't sign a contract, and who, so many big decisions to make. And that's why you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be a pretty crazy summer for Liverpool.
Yeah, it does feel like it is going to be just so much to sort. And with that in mind, Luis Diaz, this is a player I think many have almost, and from all the stories, assumed will be off, whether it be Saudi or somewhere else. Do you think and a lot of people are suggesting this, with his recent run, his output, which has always been the question mark this season, Could he force a Liverpool rethink, do you believe at all, where they maybe look at renewing him just because of the sheer amount of change they've got to do elsewhere?
I just wonder whether they would prefer to go down the route, though, of not renewing him, in terms of, when you get these players in on a contract. I don't think that Liverpool are as reliant on generating sales like this, or it's not like a massive part of their kind of, because they can generate sales through academy players. There are some players who they do move on successfully. I think, if you've got someone like Diaz and you already know you're going to have turnover in your front line, Chiesa's I would really expect him to leave. Núñez is going to leave. You can pretty much guarantee that. So you're losing 2 forwards out of your 6. Now, they might not want to have 6 next season. I don't think they'd need that. I think they probably only need 5. And then Rio Ungamoa is the next cab off the rank and try and push him a bit closer. I think that would be an ideal situation really for them. But, like I say, if you're already losing 2 there and then you've got to lose a 3rd, and it's someone who's played an awful lot of games and scored a lot of goals, got a lot of assists this season, done really well in multiple positions, it just gives you another huge headache. And for me, the ideal situation for Liverpool here would be to maybe keep hold of Diaz for at least one more season. Just keep him on that. He's not getting paid mega money relative to what he could be earning, which is why there's a bit of kind of discord around his contract, and he would like a new one. But I don't think Liverpool need to give him that. I think they just need to if they can keep hold of him for another season, get one more year out of him, then maybe make the sale. I think that's an ideal position to be in. And I don't think Liverpool would be too concerned about doing that, about running him down to his final year, because I think they'll believe they'll be able to get money for him then, no problem. He'll still be wanted. But also it just gives them that little bit extra kind of continuity in the front line, doesn't it? If you have to bed in another striker next season, to have Diaz there to be able to play centre forward, left wing, can even play right wing as well. We know how much of a grafter he is, and he's done so well this season. So, I think Liverpool would see that as not a kind of a desperate situation where they have to have a resolution. I think they'll probably think they can just ride it for one more year. And for me, that would be the ideal route to go down.
Yeah, I mean, people forgetting he's got, I think, 17 goals and 8 assists as well. So a big contributor, probably the second biggest forward this season as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. There is just a million things to consider with the summer coming up. But before we get to the summer, after everyone in red getting absolutely rotten this week, Chelsea coming up, the first guard of honour. Now, we don't like Chelsea, it's fair to say. So it's going to be nice that they're going to have to give us this guard of honour, isn't it?
Yeah. They will not like that at all. Obviously, they're going to have to do that at Stamford Bridge, which is just absolutely fantastic. So I think everybody involved in Liverpool and everyone who's going to be in that away end is going to really enjoy seeing that. Chelsea are going to hate it, particularly those fans who, you think back to a couple of summers ago when they were absolutely clowning Liverpool fans, weren't they, and talking about, we signing Enzo, we've got Caicedo, we've got Lavia, look who Liverpool have got. And there's Liverpool now, the champions, and Chelsea are scrapping about, hoping they can scrape into the Champions League somehow. So, one to be enjoyed, I think, for Liverpool supporters, that. But it's a massive game for Chelsea, isn't it? They really need to get into that top 5. And you look at the way they're playing at the moment, and the games that they've got in this run-in, and you don't really fancy them to do that. And I think for Liverpool, a team up against a kind of a rival, and they have been rivals down the years, who've got the spending power that Chelsea do, and they're in contention, say, for Dean Huijsen. If you can knock them out of the Champions League and make that even more difficult for them, then it's an important game for Liverpool to win, or at least not lose, and just to make sure Chelsea drop points. I mean, I know at a personal level, fairly invested in seeing them fall out the Champions League places, actually, because I just think it'd be nice to see that the madness and the stupidity of their spending doesn't come with any rewards, really, and the boneheaded way that they're running the club. I don't want to see that rewarded with them getting any success. So for Liverpool, if they go there and do the job, and they're a far superior side, it's a real chance to kind of dent Chelsea's hopes for the coming season. So hopefully they've sobered up by that point and are able to do it.
This is what I was going to ask you, because obviously we'd all love to see Chelsea crash out and everything that would avail us of. But is there an element of, almost as much as you can compare it to 1920, we won the league, it was obviously behind closed doors, so it wasn't special. It was different. But the one thing that was noticeable was, do you remember that squad's first game against City? I think it was away, and they were just absolutely, they looked like a pub team, basically, because, the state they were in. Do you think, will they be ready for this, or do you think they do clock off a bit mentally? And if they did, you could almost argue they're allowed as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the good thing is that they've got kind of a clear week there, hasn't it? I mean, I guess there's going to be celebrations for the next couple of days, and then it'll be a chance then to kind of reboot, get back into training, and refocus on that. And obviously, the desire's not going to be at an absolute unbelievable level, is it? No. Because obviously, they don't need to win it, or there's no reason to chase that. But I just think there's such a big difference between Chelsea and Liverpool in terms of the quality there, that Liverpool, they don't necessarily have to be 110% to beat Chelsea, do they? I think they just can kind of, even if they're not quite at their absolute best in terms of level of determination, they're still more than capable of going there and getting the win. But I also think in terms of the professionalism from Liverpool, they'll want to go there and do a job, and they'll want to get as close to 90 points as they can get and really succeed in that regard as well. So, you'd like to think there's enough time for recovery from the party and enough time to refocus on that task, and also that it's a big enough game to get the players up for it. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll be a hammering like Man City, but I don't think Chelsea are quite at that level either, and they won't be City were hurting for that game as well and wanted to kind of prove a point. I think Liverpool are going to. I don't think Chelsea are in that position or as capable of hurting Liverpool. So every chance of Liverpool going there and putting on a good performance, I think.
In terms of performance here, it will be interesting to see. But as goal ratio said there, we'd like to see Tsimikas, Chiesa, Elliott get a chance to play now. No excuses. Will Arne Slot see it that way? Are you expecting a few rotated, or are you thinking, nope, he's going to go strong until the end?
Yeah, really tough to know, to be honest. I think it's going to be first question in the press conference, really, on Friday, just to see what his plans are for this. Is he going to want to put someone like a Chiesa in the shop window? Is he going to want to reward Harvey Elliott for a good season where he's just not quite got the minutes he probably deserved? Really fascinated to see what he does. And we all this first season under Slot is kind of learning about this manager and what he likes to do and how he's going to approach it. So I think it's really difficult to say. But, I guess in his mind as well, he's probably going to want a decent points total. He's going to want to win as many games as possible, make that gap as big as it can be. And he's not a big rotator anyway, is he? So maybe we'll just see him stick to kind of what he sees as his strongest 11. That wouldn't shock me at all. But maybe he's going to be a little more willingness to kind of bring Chiesa in, bring Harvey Elliott in the right moments. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of them. But we'll have to see. And as I say, I think it's going to be first question up at the press conference. Really, is how are you going to approach these last few games?
People are mentioning this galore in the chat panel about Chiesa needs another game to qualify for a medal. So it wouldn't be a surprise if, even if he doesn't start, the likes of Chiesa or others got minutes. That wouldn't be surprising at all. But I can see quite a few comments in the chat panel. I wanted to ask you about this. Even if they get, like, Chiesa gets minutes or maybe a start in one of the games, people are saying, they could get a chance. Decisions have probably already been made by Arne Slot as to whether he fancies players or not, doesn't it? It's not going to make a difference now. There's no jeopardy on the league.
No, I mean, the thing on the appearances for winners' medals, by the way, that rule kind of got discontinued a long time ago. So there's no case of that. The Premier League will just ask every club, how many medals do you want? And they'll just say how many they want for kind of, to make sure someone like Viti Yaros gets one, that Chiesa gets one, so you don't have to make 5 appearances to get a medal anymore. That's not the case. So I wouldn't worry about that one at all. He will definitely get a Premier League winners medal, and albeit we've not seen him on the pitch, he's been, by all accounts, a great character behind the scenes, really well liked, and a really good worker as well. So, I think everyone will feel there that he deserves that medal, even if he's not massively contributed on the pitch. He's been contributing in training, keeping the level high, keeping everyone on the toes. So he has played a part, and he will get that medal. So that's really nice. And in terms of what we see over these coming games, in terms of, can Chiesa get on the pitch, can he force his way in or whatever, it's as you say, really, there's not enough time there, is there, to make a change in the manager's mind. Chiesa, I think the writing's been on the wall now for quite a while in terms of what that means. I expect he will leave this summer. And I think there's going to be big interest in him from Italian clubs. And it's just one of those kind of cut price moves that haven't quite worked out, not because of the player's fault, not really anybody's fault. It's just not being right. But I think there will be a market for him, and he'll leave Liverpool as a kind of well-liked member of the squad and behind the scenes, certainly. But yeah, I don't think there's anything he can do over these remaining games that will change any minds over that. I think that decision's been made.
Yeah, I think decisions have probably been made on all of them. A few games at the end and not going to change Arne Slot or Richard Hughes' mind in this regard. And I suppose the final question, it still seems crazy to say this. We are in April, so people are starting to look towards the summer, the parade, all those things completely natural. Because the league is done, because the window opens on the 1st of June, it's almost an accelerated transfer window one now. Are you expecting things to come out quicker than they normally do, or when they land? Or do you think it will just land on the day, or once the season's over, they'll wait till that's all finished? Or do you think we will get anything a bit quicker than normal?
What, in terms of kind of hearing about what Liverpool are likely to do, you mean?
Even knowing on the last day that, for instance, Núñez is lifting the trophy and we know he's going to Saudi 5 days later, anything like that at all?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one with the way that window's composed. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, for example, if the Dean Huijsen one is resolved in that first window, because we know Chelsea kind of want him if they can get him for the Club World Cup. So if he says no to Chelsea, that opens up the possibility of someone else doing the deal in that window. So, chance for a quick resolution on that one. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on. In terms of the rest, I guess Liverpool will wait. And there's probably no rush for any of the other clubs in terms of outgoings or incomings that's really going to force it into that first window. But he's the one, I'd say Huijsen really is that there's potential for that to be done in that first window. So, that could be exciting, could be a good start to the summer for Liverpool if they're the ones who can get that over the line. But if not, there's still plenty of time left, isn't there? And plenty of other players to target. So we'll see how we go with that.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how things unfold, and maybe at what speed more than anything. I suppose in terms of just this pod, everything we've talked about, we can't say it enough. People should just really enjoy this period, shouldn't they? Soak in all the content, rewatch things, even the stories and things from yesterday, the pictures before, after, on the pitch. It is just one of those weeks to soak everything in, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of absolutely mental, really, about there's 4 games still remaining, and 4 games to enjoy this and to kind of soak every second up of it, and 4 little parties and 4 chances to meet up with your mates and watch the game and revel in every second of that. So, people should enjoy that, because it doesn't happen very often. This one doesn't happen at all. It won't happen again, where it's the big one you've waited for so long. So that's pretty remarkable as well. So yeah, just enjoy every second of it, because it's really, really special. And it's everything that we've kind of talked and dreamed about for over 3 decades now. So you don't want to look back and think, I wish I'd done this or that. I wish I'd got to the parade. I wish I'd gone and met my mates to talk about it. I wish I could, go out and do it. Have your party, have your barbecue, have your mates round, have your, whatever you do, however you consume Liverpool Football Club, and just try and soak every bit of this up, because it is truly, truly special. And by the way, I should have ended on that. That would have been a nice note to end on. But just a quick one on the kind of quick resolutions early in the summer as well. Trent's one to keep an eye out for, isn't it? Because of course, we will probably hear about that in the coming kind of, if he is going to go, maybe we hear about that before maybe the last Anfield game. We'll have to see with that. That's an interesting one that could be resolved early. So yeah, interesting. That could be an interesting start to the window.
There's just so much going on, and there's 4 games to go, and we've already won the league title, and no one's still sure about a lot of things. But what we are certain of, people, is in this week, enjoy it. Get ready for the last day. That is going to be special as well. All it leaves me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the insight, for going a bit long with us today as well. It is much appreciated.
No, thank you. And just as someone said in the comments there, by the way, that they're disappointed that I'm coherent this morning. I can promise you, when we're going to do the one on the Monday after the final day of the season. We may have to push that into late in the afternoon, Dave. I'm probably going to warn you about that now, because I only did a couple of quick ones with my mates yesterday, but I think the final day is maybe going to be a really big party. So
yeah, that's got Tuesday written all over it, because I'm down in Liverpool as well, and like the parade and everything. Tuesday, but I just book. Yeah, we'll put Tuesday for that one straight away. But there we go, ladies and gents. On a special day, that was a special Media Matters for Anfield.